pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, good evening. So this is the Planning Commission. This is the meeting of the Morrison County Planning Commission. The commission is made up of citizens from the 5 commissioner districts of the county and 1 county commissioner. The purpose of the commission is to oversee the preparation of the Morrison County land use controls, hear and review applications, and offer recommendations for conditional use permits, interim use permits, subdivision plat approval, planned unit developments, rezones, and other matters to be considered by it under the Morrison County Land Use Control Ordinance. Our powers are established in state statutes, chapters 394.21 to 394.37. Conditional uses and interim uses are recommended for approval upon a showing by an applicant that standards and criteria stated in the ordinance will be satisfied. All questions must be answered in affirmative in order for the Planning Commission to recommend approval of a CUP or an IUP unless conditions can be attached that bring the proposed use into compliance and mitigate the negative finding of fact. Conditions and restrictions may be imposed by the Planning Commission as deemed necessary to protect the public interest. After your public hearing is complete, you may leave if you wish. So we have 2 items on the agenda tonight. The first one is Joseph and Jenny Keefe. If you want to come up front, and from 31949 Lakeview Drive, Cushing, Minnesota. Application for a plat to split the existing lot 3 into 2 lots located in Lot 3, Block 1 of Outlot A, Lars, Section 28, Township 132, Range 31, Scandi Valley Township. If you gentlemen would just state your name for the record, please.
Joe Keefe. Chad Connor, land surveyor.
Okay. So I guess at this time we'll start off with Amy, if you have the staff report, please.
You bet, Mr. Chair. This is an application for a 2-lot plat located in Section 28 of Scandi Valley Township. Section 1500 pertains to the platting of land in Morrison County. And then here is a plat map, and the red dot is the location of the parcel we're talking about. And then here is the plat application received from the applicant, along with some surveys and drawings. Then here's an aerial photograph of the parcel as it looks now, outlined in blue. And then here's some oblique imagery of the property. The applicant owns a 1.86 acre lot within the subdivision of Outlot A, Lars Addition. The parcel is zoned shoreline due to its proximity to Lake Alexander. A shed for personal storage exists on the south end of the parcel. And then here is a plat map of the Lars addition with the parcel that we're talking about outlined in blue. The applicant would like to split the existing platted lot into 2 lots and sell the north lot for the purposes of building a shed. Since the parcel is within an existing plat and the proposed lot is large enough to create a building site, the new lot must be platted. Access to the north lot would be through a new driveway access off 320th Street, which is also known as County Road 3. And the Morrison County Public Works Department has given preliminary approval for installation of the driveway. And this email correspondence was included in your packet. A septic soil evaluation has been completed, and adequate soils to support a Type 1 septic system is present on both lots. Scandi Valley Township was provided a copy of the plat. I did not receive any notice or any correspondence from the township. No development agreement is needed, as no construction of public or private roads is proposed. The Land Use Control Ordinance allows for the county to require the set-aside of a portion of the subdivided land for use as open space, park, recreational, or common areas, or a contribution to the county park fund in lieu of land designated within the subdivision. Since this proposal is for one oversized shoreland residential lot, staff did not discuss the green space and/or common space requirement. The applicable comprehensive plan goals and objectives is residential, goal B1, objective 2, goal 3, goal B2, objectives 1 and 2, shoreline development, goal D1, and then the water plan goals and objectives is the surface water goal, objectives B and C, land use and development goal, objective D, B and D. 125 notices were sent and no comment was received prior to the public hearing. Mr. Chair, this is, there is no set criteria for a plat, so this will just be a yes, no roll call vote. And because this plat is a simple, essential split of an existing platted lot, you are hearing the preliminary plat. It will not come back to you for a final plat. We do have the ability to hear both at the same time, and we're choosing to do that because this is a pretty straightforward subdivision.
Okay, thank you, Amy. So at this time, if the applicants would maybe want to just give us a little, or first, if there's anything to add to what she had, and then maybe give us kind of what the lowdown is, what you're trying to do, or,
I've had the lot for about 8 years or so, and I built the building to the south. I have a neighbor, I also have a dwelling on Lake Alexander, and this is a storage shed. I have a neighbor who's interested, who has approached me to also build another storage shed, and that's his primary use for the lot. So I decided to, with my wife, is to divide the lot and sell them half the lot.
okay. So then you have a cabin or a dwelling on
I do.
the other lake?
Yeah.
You just got that for storage?
Yeah, so
Okay.
about down the Lakeview Drive, about a mile and a half down, I have
Okay.
a residence.
Okay. Well, you guys got any questions?
Sure.
Go ahead, Dave.
Just a question for the applicant. I assume, do you have a buyer for the property? Or?
I do, and I also already have a signed purchase agreement.
Okay,
based
and
on-
they are also a lake owner?
They are, yes.
Property owner, and will be using it similar to the way you're using it?
Very similar, yes.
Okay,
And their intent isn't to build right away, but they wanted to secure the lot, so I think they'll build within the next 5 years. So it won't be immediately.
okay, thank you.
Anybody else have anything?
I think this is pretty straightforward. So I just want you to know I've been paying attention. I just don't have any questions. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Marv.
I'm just going to reiterate or confirm this. If this is allowed, this would be a conforming lot if I read this correctly, and everything would be.
Mr. Chair, yes, it would be in, the minimum lot size in Shoreland is 30,000 square feet, and as you can see on the drawing, they're both over 40,000 square feet. So yes, and because this lot is of adequate size, it could be fully developed. That's why they did the septic work and why they're proposing that conforming lot, because of course, a buyer down the road may choose to build a home and septic system and all of that.
Thank
So
you.
this would be adequate for that.
Thank you, because we have way too many non-conforming lots and didn't want to go down that road again.
Okay. So at this time, we'll open up the public comment. Is there anybody in the audience that would have anything to say to this applicant? If so, we'd have you go up to the microphone and, or the podium and speak into the microphone. Any public comment? I have to ask it 3 times, so. Any public comment? If hearing none, we'll close this portion of the meeting to the public. So I guess, no public comment. We had 125 notices sent out. There was no correspondence. So it don't seem like it's a big problem in the area as far as neighboring citizens or residents are concerned. So I don't know if there's anything else. Anybody have any other questions or ways we can just go to the vote, I guess?
Mr. Chair, I just
Go ahead.
just
Mr.
like to
Stish.
point out that in the staff report, there is a list of applicable comprehensive plan goals and objectives, and, you know, this application is consistent with all of them. You know, looking at the first one, have public road frontage, you know, that's been approved, adequate size, it's over the minimum limit, appropriately sized, designed to enjoy a rural life setting, and we're directed to be flexible in these matters, to accommodate housing needs and the needs of the people out in the country. Water goals and land goals are met also by the proposal.
Thank you, Dave. Yeah, and I'd just like to add too, if you look at the aerial and look at the development that's in there and the way all the houses and stuff are in there, putting eventually, possibly another dwelling at some time, it fits right in the area too. If you look forward from what they're not asking for, but for the future, I think it'd fit really good in there too, so. So if there's no more discussion, I guess we could vote unless somebody has something quick. Now we're gonna go through a vote. It's just yes or no, and I'll go roll call. So Dave Stish.
Yes, to approve, correct?
Yep. Marvin Treadle.
Yes.
Dave Brucher.
Yes to approve.
Myself, Clint Catherine is yes. Brent Lindgren.
Yes.
Okay, so we answered that in affirmative, so if somebody'd like to make a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd make that motion to approve and send this forward to the county board.
I second that.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to recommend this for approval to the county commissioners. All in favor say aye. So I'll just go down again. Dave Stish,
Aye.
Marvin,
Aye.
Dave Brucher,
Aye.
myself as aye, Brent.
Aye.
Okay, so we're approved this for the commissioners to look at, and that meeting is July 26th. So Amy, if you'd want to say a few things about that?
Yeah, so this request will go for consideration before the county board on July 26th at the regular board meeting. That's during the day, in the morning. Once that goes through, if they approve that, then we would work with your surveyor on getting that over to our county surveyor for review before you do the Mylars and before you record. So we'll just work that through that way, okay?
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Excuse me, my voice is all messy tonight. Okay, so next on our agenda is Christine Schultz Kirstead. If you'd want to come up. There's no property address, but it's an application to rezone a portion of a parcel from commercial to agriculture for the purpose of two building sites located in the point of government lots 10 and 11, section 19, township 132, range 31, Scandi Valley Township. So if you want to state your names for the record, please.
Christine Schultz-Kirsted.
Judith Frederick.
So I guess we'll just go to staff report. Go ahead, Amy, if you want to do that.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Again, this is an application to rezone a parcel from agriculture and commercial to agriculture for the purpose of building dwellings located in section 19 of Scandi Valley Township. Section 508 of the Morrison County Land Use Control Ordinance requires a public hearing to change the official zoning map. Here's a plat map of Scandia Valley Township, and the red dot is the location of the parcel. And then here's the rezone request received from the applicant, along with the site drawing. And then here's an aerial photograph of the parcel outlined in blue. It's the larger parcel that you see there. And then here's some oblique imagery of the area. The applicant purchased the property in 2021, and the parcel is a total of 30.97 acres. It is not developed at the moment. It is dually zoned agriculture and commercial. And here's another drawing provided by the applicant that with the zoning layer on, so the area of the parcel in red currently has a commercial zoning district assigned to it, and then the area that does not have any color has an agriculture zoning district assigned to it. The applicant wishes to split the property into 2 parcels and build a home on each of the parcels within the currently commercial zoned area. Dwellings are not an allowed use within the commercial zoning district, and the applicant is requesting to rezone the entire parcel to agriculture. There is available dwelling density to accommodate 2 additional dwellings in this quarter if it were to be done. Preliminary soils work has been done, and each of the proposed parcels has adequate soils to support a type 1 septic system. Access for both parcels would be off Highway 10 through the use of a shared driveway. There is wetland in the area where the driveway is desired. The Morrison County Soil and Water Conservation District confirmed that permitting from their office to fill wetland would be required. This parcel is part of a 0.7-mile commercially zoned strip along Highway 10. The other developed parcels in this area are commercial in nature. The purpose of the agriculture zoning district is to promote and protect areas which have high-quality agricultural lands and are essentially rural in nature. Within this district, agricultural activities are given precedence over other land uses. And the purpose of the commercial zoning district is to promote and protect areas which currently are active commercial areas or meet the comprehensive plan guidelines for future or desired commercial development. The applicable comprehensive plan goals and objectives for this request is residential, goal B1, objectives 1, 2, and 6. Agriculture, goal A1, objective 6. Goal A2, objective 1. And then commercial, goal C1 and C2. And then under C2, the objectives 1, 2, 3, and 4. 6, 7, 16, 17, and 19. 36 notices were sent. 1 email was received prior to the public hearing. I will read that for you. This is from Dan Carey from Beltech CNC Machining. And he says, in regard to this property, I have no problem with it being switched to ag. My only concern is that by raising the ground level on either side of my property would put me into a bowl. We already have problems with water level around the buildings when we get a lot of rain. Raising the ground level for a driveway would most likely flood our place. If the driveway raises the water level on my property, we will also be requesting to reclass it to ag as well, which if my property is hindered in any way by this, we would be reclassing our property. Please note that the last people that looked at this property got a quote that was tens of thousands of dollars just in fill and dirt work to run a driveway along the Highway 10 to that same area. It was the only reason they didn't buy it, due to the extreme costs. On another note, my easement from Highway 10 would not be able to be blocked or disrupted in any way for any period of time due to the amount of trucks that are delivering stock and materials to my location. I'm unable to make it to the meeting. I just want to make sure that how this has gone about is thought about extremely carefully. If the driveway raises the water level on my property, we will reclass this to ag as well. I do hope that they are able to accomplish switching the property to ag residential so they are able to homestead the property. I just want to make sure that everyone is aware of the costs and repercussions of going this route with the driveway. Please let the others know that I do understand they own the property. I'm just worried that ours getting wetter than what it already is. Most everything west of our building is basically swamp. I just ask that there is caution taken with any dirt work that is done, and that's from Dan Carey. And I'm going to show you a map just so you know his location. So when you look at this, his parcel is the one up here in the corner, right here, and the easement would be coming down this dogleg here. Or it's not an easement, it's a deeded access, but that's where their driveway would run parallel with that parcel. And that is all I have, Mr. Chair. I just want to remind you with a rezone, you do not have the ability to condition a rezone. So your scope is looking at whether this is an appropriate area to consider a change in zoning. So looking at construction of the driveway or anything like that is outside of your purview at this meeting.
Amy, is there another picture that shows them commercial lots? Like here, there's nothing developed on the next two below it, or three? Okay,
So, Mr. Chair, this is the area, this is the parcel we're talking about right here. And so, and then here is the Mr. Carey's property. And then, as you can see, these lots are not developed, and then up here is where we get into the
Okay.
commercially developed area.
okay. Okay, very well. Thank you, Amy. So at this time, would the applicants have anything to add or anything to say? Okay, so I guess what I'd like to know is be a little more familiar with the area. I know we're not gonna talk too much about your driveway or any of that stuff, but with Mr. Carey's letter that he sent and about putting a driveway in would flood him out, can you explain what he's thinking, or what, is that wet or what? I don't know.
It's wet behind, in the woods back there, that's why we can't build in that area, we have to build up on that corner. It's also wet to the back where it's still ag. As far as water, there's water that sits in one area that I would want to put in a drain tile thing, leaving a deeper area for the water to go in, putting a culvert in and some class 5. And I'm not going to go class 5 all the way up to the land. That doesn't make any sense. But the water doesn't get that deep on that end. It just, in the spring of the year, it gets about 12 inches of water built in that one area. So I think if the culvert were in and the class 5 were put in, we could drive through it. We don't need to build it up.
Yep.
We just want to kind of get, so you have a trail
Okay.
for us to drive.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious about, because I thought all that through there was pretty sandy, but,
It is.
Must be a little
up on
lower.
our end.
okay. Okay. So, did anybody in the planning commission here have questions for the applicant?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Merv.
as I'm looking at this map here, wondering, concerns about Mr. Keefe there and the access coming right in front of his place.
You're looking at the wrong one.
Mr.
Wrong names.
Carey?
Pardon me?
Mr. Carey?
Carey, yeah, okay, I'm sorry. And anyhow, I noticed there's a road to the west of the property over there. Is there a possibility of, or did you give that any thought of coming in from that way?
Back, we can't, it's all underwater.
It is.
That is all swamp, and then they said we can't alter it. It's wildlife, cattails, and
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Mr. Stish.
question for Amy. Clarify, if you could, what the nature of the Carey business there? Are you familiar with it at all?
I am not familiar with it, Mr. Chair.
But it is commercial.
Yes, it's a commercial. He did not explain in his letter what he does, Beltec Machining, so I'm assuming it's a machining.
It looks like a residence there too, but not.
No, he does not live on site.
So, so the shared entry would be shared by all three then, if this were to pass, that entry off of 10?
Off of 10, and then it would split to go up to the Cary property, which he already has an existing driveway. So there would be a shared entrance off of Highway 10, yes.
And I can see where he would have a concern on that affecting his business, definitely. And seems a valid concern that that driveway, even though we're not discussing the driveway, might affect him water-wise. I didn't quite understand why he would be requesting to be rezoned ag. What would be the rationale for that if this was granted?
Mr. Chair, I'm only speculating, but my assumption is that if he can't, if the business is flooded out and he can't operate a business out of there, then he would ask to rezone it to agriculture and probably sell it for residential use.
So also, this 30-some acre property is zoned commercial, but the same nuances would be faced by the commercial use of it, too wet.
Correct.
And lack of an approach.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so the driveway's not an issue no matter what it is.
It is for Mr. Carey.
It is, but I'm just saying, if it's commercial or ag, it'll be a problem for him, he thinks, but,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair,
go ahead, Brent.
I've got a couple of questions here, and I'm not sure who to properly address each one to, but maybe I'll start with the first one to Amy. Looking at this property, should this have been agricultural zone to begin with? And, for the purposes of what we're trying to decide here tonight, it doesn't look like it's real suitable for commercial development. And so is it more suitable for agricultural or residential?
Mr. Chair, way back when the zoning map was established, there were areas along the Highway 10 corridor that were given a commercial zoning district because that was assumed that that would be where commercial development would happen, should happen, all of that. I'm not sure how much consideration was given to each individual parcel that was within that swath to be given that. So as you see, this area was just an area that was really either already had some commercial development happening there because it was along the Highway 10 corridor, or it was a desired area to push commercial development. But like I said, this particular parcel probably wasn't considered individually when that was done.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chair, I've got a couple other questions here.
Go ahead, Brent.
Is this, changing this, if we are to change this, is it going to be compatible with the area that's up there? And maybe this is a discussion for the board. Considering that this is at the end of the commercial framework of Highway 10 in that general area, is there more of a need for residential now as we look at it, or is there more of a need for commercial? Because that's kind of what's before us tonight.
The lot next to us, I'd like to let you know that the one where the black is around it, that is a substation for the power company now. That's already being developed. That's all that's going to be on that.
Mr. Chair, I just have Beacon up and I'm just gonna pull this over and just show you, so I can zoom out a little bit more, so you can just kind of see the extent of the commercial zoning district here. Several of these parcels to the south are owned by Crowing Power, and so they have their substation here. And then we have, I'll just zoom in a little bit so you can see what's already in that whole area that's got that commercial zoning district along Highway 10 there.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman?
go ahead, Mr. Brucher.
You know that I know of other, I know we deal with each situation individually, but I know of other places where the land is zoned commercial, but the likelihood that there ever will be commercial development is probably very slim. So does this, if we start rezoning, and that's going to be a question for the board too, where do you start and where do you stop on the rezones? I've just got some properties I know of in mind that are zoned commercial that nobody will ever build something commercial on them. So it just kind of enters into this discussion as well. So, but thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Mr. Stish.
could you throw up elevations on here at the same time, as long as they're on this page? Obviously, there's a commercial to the north and a commercial to the south of this property. Be hard not to call this spot zoning. At least the request is for spot zoning. So it does, elevation does increase to the south, it looks like. Thank you.
Okay, one thing that helps me out, I think, a little bit here is when we look through the commercial goals and then objectives. If you look at the first objective, it says limit commercial and industrial development only in areas capable of handling such development with adequate infrastructure and services. So if most of that land base is fairly wet, the neighboring business to the north is having a lot of concern with his place getting wet by adding a driveway in or something like that. Wouldn't you think if a commercial building type business would be put in there, that would put more strain on that guy's business? I don't know, that's just some things I'm running through my head. Is there ain't a lot of infrastructure there. I don't, think about the area capable of handling such development. Again, like I said, he's worried about a house or two being in there. If you had a 50,000 square foot commercial building or something, industry in there or something, who knows what it would be, that would put a lot more stress on that guy's business than if there was two houses there, I think. So I don't know, with that, that's what's tough, when you get in these commercial areas or even along Highway 10 is it's limited access to get right off of 10. Excuse me, even residential to get right off of 10. And then to kind of basically it'd be a service road to come through there. It's not that, but just something to think about. I just reading through the objectives and that come to my mind, so.
Can I ask a question?
Okay, go ahead.
His little square in there, it's set back and the
Yep.
blue line goes around it. So does that mean that we still own that property there down to the approach? Ours?
Go ahead, Amy.
Are you asking about this area right here?
Yep.
Yes, that's deeded access for you, yes.
Deeded access?
Yep, so you would share the approach off of Highway 10 because MnDOT's not gonna grant another one.
Right.
But then your way to your property is completely on your property.
Okay. It's kind of sitting out in the middle, about 50 feet off the road.
Yep. Okay, you guys got some more discussion? Or
Mr. Chair, here's a little bit more of a visual, an oblique image of the area. So this comes up off Highway 10, and then the driveway then would run here, and this is where we run into the wetland. Then they would need to be working with Soil and Water Conservation District. on filling that wetland in order to put that in there. They certainly would be overseeing the design of that driveway as well. And then we come back to this area. I'm just going to zoom out just a hair. Then this is back where the building would be.
So then, your guys' property, is it pretty close to that sign that's right by the road, or?
That sign is back by the woods.
Yep.
See, right at the end of that woods there is where our property ends and his goes behind. The sign is about where the water is standing. If there's water in the spring, that's
Yep.
where it's at, and it gets about 11 to 12 inches of water early in the spring. But I drive through there now. I've been driving back and forth there all year last year and this year, because I got campers up there now.
So, Mr. Chair, it does appear that this area kind of serves as a bit of a bowl.
Okay. Probably not suited for either one of the uses, but.
Do we know what Mr. Chair, do we know what the right-of-way setback there is on Highway 10, where that coincides with the High Line?
Let me turn a couple layers off, and I'll turn that on. So there is the Highway 10 right-of-way in pink.
So Brent, basically, when I look at it, where that sign was out, I would say that's right on the edge of the right of way. So west of that would be where their access to drive in is.
Yeah, and that other map, Amy, that you just had up a minute ago, I hate to have you jumping around, but
I certainly can.
since that is in a bowl there, where they're proposing the driveway to go through and maybe put a culvert in, it looks like Highway 10 has a culvert there as well. Oh, to the bottom of that page.
Oh, you want to
down.
you want to go up to where they come off of Highway 10?
Nope, just,
Just south?
yep, just south here.
Or north, I should say.
Right. Is that the culvert?
Yeah,
Is
I
that the
think
Highway
so.
10 culvert right there? In
Right
the
here?
bottom of that bowl?
See right here.
Right here?
Yes.
I'll turn it. Yep, there's a culvert.
Yeah, and then the crossing there as well, okay. And can somebody, could you show me where it is, where you're talking about that 11 inches of water standing and where this backup of water is?
Just a little bit right in here where the sign is. Water sits and it's about, like I said, in the spring of the year is about the only time it's there.
Okay,
It's not there long.
would it be on the east side of your driveway or the west side if you put a driveway in there? Or is it right through it?
Right through it.
Okay.
Right, so it's water all in here.
So it just,
We've got a little bit of a slope here, and we've got a slope here, and I'm figuring the only place I can classify is from there to there.
okay.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Mr. Stish.
I guess I'm assuming that that's why Mr. Carey thinks a driveway might slow the flow of water off his property if it has to get to that culvert. And any driveways placed in there, it would certainly slow that flow down.
Oh, the water doesn't exist any more than the length of this table.
And I'm sure if they gotta work with soil and water to go through there, there'll be some plan to outlet the water, so I'm not gonna too concerned with that.
Place
so.
appropriate culverts in
Yep.
the driveway, yeah.
Mr. Chair, anytime you're looking to fill wetland, the Soil and Water Conservation District will have oversight as to what's happening there and whether you'll have any altered flow of the wetland And so that would be done with the oversight of the soil and water.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, Mr. Butcher.
I think Amy pointed out that, our part here has to do with rezoning, has nothing to do with the water flow or anything like that. It's just purely, we need to address the rezone, whether we're going to rezone a piece of commercial property to agriculture. Thank you.
Yeah, with that being said, I was actually gonna bring that up myself. Anybody have any more discussion? Otherwise, I'll open up the public response. If no more, we'll open the meeting to public. Is there anybody from the public that would like to address this applicant? Please go up to the podium and state your name for the record. Any public comment? Any public comment? Hearing none, we'll close this portion of the meeting to the public comment. So anybody have any final questions or discussion before we go to our vote? Go ahead, Marv.
Mr. Chair, so you made this comment, and I'm trying to grasp at this. It doesn't seem to fit agriculture at all, because it doesn't, as far as commercial, it doesn't seem to, that's been zoned commercial for some time. That business, if I remember correctly, it's been up there 20-plus years. And no commercial businesses have been developed along that. And, here it just seems like residential might fit better, but here it doesn't seem to fit either one well. And I'm just trying to digest that.
Mr. Chair, I guess before we go to discussion, I'd just like to repeat that, there's active commercial on either side of the property. So whether it fits or not, it's commercial.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess when I get to these things like this, I just look at what would I do if I owned it. I would never build a business there. I don't know if I'd build a house there, but I'd build a house there before I'd ever build a business. That's my personal thought. That's tough, I don't know. Then we say it's spot zoning, what Mr. Stish said, because we have commercial on both sides, but as far as you go after that, there is none, so.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Mark.
I'm just thinking about last month when we had down by Stuffy's Meat or whatever, they had kind of the same scenario. They had both business and then they had agriculture plots real close. Kind of a similar situation here. And it seems to work there.
Okay. You guys ready to vote?
We have some rezone questions we could review.
Good, if you want to. So I'm just gonna read through them. Anybody has anything to add to when I read through them? You can sure state what you gotta say. So has there been a change in the development policy to county? Has there been rapid population growth or business change in the area? Was there a mistake made in the original zoning ordinance which needs to be corrected? Does the rezone conform with the comprehensive plan? Is the proposed amendment compatible with surrounding land uses? Does the proposed amendment amount to spot owning? Are utilities available to serve the proposed development? So if anybody has anything they'd like to add to any one of these, we'll go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I guess if I were to look at those, are utilities available? There's really no approach available. I mean, no good approach from either direction. Too bad they can't come in from the west. It definitely would be spot zoning, I don't know how many of the plots are owned by Minnesota Power to the south, but several of them, and they've got a substation there. That's a commercial use. And maybe they have plans for the rest of it. Who knows? The comprehensive plan lays this out as a commercial area. Whether it's suitable or not is up to businesses to decide whether they would want to locate there. No mistakes, no change in population growth that would necessitate changing this ag for the purpose of residential use. It's not even for the purpose of ag use. A lot of other probably better building spots in the county. So that's how I would summarize those questions as quickly as possible.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Marv.
Just a question for Amy. If this weren't granted, would they be allowed to build on commercial, on like in the backside, whatever, which wasn't part of it, or even partially on the commercial as a residential?
Mr. Chair, yes. So if you're looking at this map in front of you, this parcel's dually zoned, so they would have the ability, if they met all setbacks, didn't have wetland issues, had deeded access to a public road, all of that, they would be allowed to put dwellings in this portion of the property. Because that is ag zoned, and residences are allowed in that area of the parcel.
But the commercial zone, they
No,
cannot?
correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Mr. Stish.
of course, we don't, this is a wet area. We don't know if there's type 1 sewer systems available. So that could be a variance for another day, if granted, even if not granted.
Any more discussion? Okay, if not, we'll go to our vote. So just a yes or no vote again, just like the last one. Start with myself. Clint Catherine's yes. Dave Brucher,
No.
Dave Stish,
No.
Brent Lindgren,
Yes.
Marvin Treadle,
No.
okay. So we have majority in the no. So would somebody like to make a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we'd recommend to the commissioners to deny this rezone.
Is there a second?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to second that one.
Okay. There's a motion made and seconded to recommend denial to the county commissioners. All in favor say aye, and against nay. Myself, Glenn Catherine is Nate. Dave Bridger,
Aye.
Dave Stish,
Aye.
Brent Lindgren,
Nay.
Marv Treadle.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. So,
So this recommendation will go to the county board on July 26th at their regular meeting. The county board ultimately decides whether or not the rezone will be granted. Also, a supermajority vote is needed by the county board in order to pass a rezone. So that'll go to the regular meeting. Their meeting starts at 9 a.m. You can certainly attend the meeting, or you can call the office early afternoon to find out the outcome, whichever you prefer.
And what day was that?
July 26th, and it's here in this room, and their meeting starts at 9 a.m.
thank you for coming in. Good luck.
It seemed like spots only almost to me. Could it work? Yeah. Let them work.
Okay. So we got June 28th minutes to approve.
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the minutes as presented.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, motion's made and seconded to approve the minutes from June 28th. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, approved. New business.
Mr. Chair, I do not have any new business.
Okay. No one else? Okay, old business. Amy, you have any?
Mr. Chair, I do not have any old business
Okay.
either.
Anybody else? No, any new business? Or old business, I mean? If not, we take a motion adjourn.
Make that motion, Mr. Chair.
Second it.
Okay, motion's made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Turn it over to the